Let's talk about Kanban for Scrum Teams. Since the Kanban method can be applied to existing ways of working, it can also be applied by teams implementing the Scrum framework. As a result, collaboration between the Kanban and the Scrum communities resulted in the Kanban Guide for Scrum Teams. Optimizing flow is central to the Kanban method. From a Scrum context, flow can be viewed through the applying of transparency, inspection, and adaptation iteratively in the form of sprints. As a result, the inherent feedback loops involved occur iteratively with a fixed time box, enabling the consideration of the cycle time of these feedback loops to help understand flow. Flow optimization is enabled by Kanban using a pull system that limits the work in progress. So flow can be measured using 4 basic metrics: work in progress, cycle time, work item age, and throughput. Work in progress, or WIP, is defined as the number of work items started but not finished. Cycle time is defined as the amount of time elapsed between when a work item starts and when a work item finishes. Work item age is the amount of time between when a work item starts and the current time. And throughput is the number of work items finished per unit time. Little's law establishes that the more items you have in progress at any given time, the longer it will take on average to complete any single item. It establishes a relationship between throughput, work in progress, and cycle time. So if a Scrum team notices that their cycle times are too long, they should work on lowering their work in progress. Scrum teams achieve flow optimization by utilizing 4 Kanban practices: visualization of the workflow, active management of work items in progress, limiting work in progress, and inspecting and adapting the team's definition of workflow. Scrum teams are responsible for all product-related activities. For Scrum teams implementing the Kanban method, this also includes the definition of workflow, which is the Scrum team members' explicit understanding of what their policies are for following the Kanban practices. Examples include policies for visualization involving workflow states or how the workflow is visualized, and how we work policies, such as establish work in progress limits, service level expectations, or batch size, which can be thought of as the number of items included in an active sprint. As the team inspects and adapts, these policies should be reviewed for potential adjustments. The team applies transparency by visualizing the workflow using a Kanban board with the intent to prompt the right conversations at the right time and enable proactive identification of improvement opportunities. The board also reflects workflow states that items transition through as they move from start to finish, as well as the policies that govern these transitions. Examples include definition of ready, defining when a work item can enter a workflow state, and definition of done, defining when it can exit. The board can also contain inactive states at the start and the end of the workflow. It is important to recognize that items are not automatically pushed to the next workflow state when completed. Instead, the items are pulled into a workflow state governed by the defined WIP limits, which establish a maximum number of items allowed in any particular state at any given time. The Kanban board reflects these WIP limits at the top of each column representing an active workflow state. In addition to applying WIP limits, there are several steps a Scrum team applying Kanban can take to actively manage the work in progress. Ensuring that the rate at which items enter the workflow is about the same as the rate that they leave the workflow. Ensuring work item age is kept to a minimum. And quickly addressing work items that are blocked or queued, as well as those with cycle times exceeding the team's expectation. Also known as a service level expectation, or SLE, it defines how long it takes for an item to flow from start to finish in the team's workflow. The SLE has 2 parts: a time period and a probability associated with it. For example, an SLE may state that work for 85% of items should complete in 6 days or less. The SLE should be based on the team's historical cycle time. If that data is not available, the team should take its best guess, then inspect and adapt as some history is developed. Now let's take a look at how a flow-based perspective affects the Scrum events. The sprint is leveraged as a feedback loop to continually inspect and adapt the definition of workflow. The focus is on delivering value 1 or more times during the sprint. This is done by closely collaborating around the sprint goal. At sprint planning, the team uses historical throughput data to plan how much work they can commit to during the sprint. Daily Scrum centers around the team doing everything they can to maintain consistent flow, considering the following 5 questions. What items are blocked and what needs to be done to unblock them? What work is flowing slower than expected, which reviewing work item age can help with? Is there anything not represented on the board that will impact our ability to complete work today? Have we learned anything new that might impact the team's plan? And have we exceeded our designated work in progress limits, and what can we do to ensure that we complete the work in progress? The goal of the sprint review, to inspect the outcome of the sprint with the team and the stakeholders and consider adjustments to the plan forward based on what was learned, is enhanced by reviewing flow-based metrics such as throughput when the product owner discusses delivery dates and progress toward the product goal. And finally, at the sprint retrospective, the team uses flow-based metrics to identify improvements, including adjustments to the process and the workflow.